Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Roll. Alright, I got a little bit of a repair project to look into today. I was running a load of dishes the other day, and when the cycle got completed and I opened up the door, I noticed that the water inside didn't get pumped out. Now, my first thought was that maybe there's just a little plug up in the drain hose and that I could drain it. I've actually done a little bit of research on this already. I hooked up a wet-dry shop vac to the drain hose and tried to pump the water out that way. I was able to do so, but the water came out really slowly, and there still may be a plug in there. Or it may be that there's like a little valve at the bottom of the drain that shuts off when the cycle's running to keep the water from running out. And maybe it's just I was pulling through a closed drain valve or something. But there's also the possibility that the pump that pumps the water out is defective or not functioning, or something's gone wrong. And so I got to do a little bit more than just hook up a wet-dry shop vac to the drain hose and suck the water out. I'm going to pull the dishwasher out. We're going to move it into the garage, and we're going to kind of do like we did a couple years ago when I had problems with the dishwasher. You'll remember back then I had a leak on the dishwasher, and it just turned out that the heating element there was a little leak in the gap between where the heating element goes through the bottom of the dishwasher, and replacing the heating element fixed that. I want to get it up on the shelf, take a look at it, and see if I can figure out what the problem is. So let's get going on this. We're going to do a little dishwasher work today. Okay, I've got the dishwasher moved out into the garage up on a bench here so I can take a look at it. I think obviously the first thing I want to do is verify that the most likely solution to this problem isn't that we just have a plug in this hose here, which is still possible. I think the easy way to do that is I'm just going to plug a hose into one end of it and see if water comes out the other end. Then we're going to have to work our way backwards here. This is the pump, and I don't know if there's a valve in there or not. But I think what we can do is we could put some water inside this thing and see if the water runs out here. If the water runs out here, then there isn't a valve there, it's just the pump itself. And if that's the case, we might have to replace the pump. But we're going to do this one step at a time. Let's start with the easiest thing first and see if we can make our job easy. Alright, so this is the drain hose of the dishwasher. That clearly is not the problem. Water's running through there pretty smoothly. So it's possible that there's still maybe something upstream, maybe even just we're plugged up here on this end. So I'm going to actually remove the screen in here. There's a little bit of dirt in there, and I'm going to remove that, and I can see if I can see anything under there that could be causing our problem. Alright, so I have verified that there is not a valve in here that shuts to keep water from running out. See, I was thinking there was the possibility that since somebody might have a drain physically underneath, like a drain hole physically underneath the dishwasher, and might just run the hose right into a drain because it's at a lower level than the bottom of the pump and the bottom of the dishwasher, that they might put a valve in there to shut that off. But there doesn't appear to be anything like that in there. There's a little rubber flap at the end of this thing, and that's just a backwash controller. That's just to keep dirty water from flowing back into the dishwasher when the pump comes off. So at this point, I think what we're looking at is maybe a bad pump. And unfortunately, that was the worst case scenario here. And so I'm going to have to see if I can verify that. There are actually two pumps under this thing. Let's get around here to another angle. There's the main pump, which is this thing here, and what that does, that's the thing that recirculates the water around into the dishwasher itself. That doesn't have a problem. That's working fine. But there's this little pump right here, and this little pump here is the thing that pumps the water out. And that's what I think the problem is. So I'm going to actually, this is the power input to the pump itself. What I'm going to try and do, since the pump is actually just a motor, what I'm going to do is we're going to pull these two plugs off, and I'm going to see if I got continuity between those two connectors, because if we've burned the motor out, then we've lost continuity and the pump itself needs to be replaced. So that's, I think, going to be my next step. Okay, so I have checked the continuity of the input to the motor. There is no continuity in there. That means that the motor has burned out and we're going to have to replace the pump. Now, I went and looked up the model number on the unit. The model unit number of this unit is attached to the side of it. And I was able to look it up online and find the part, and they actually have very simple instructions on how to replace this thing. There's a little video, a YouTube video there that'll show you how to do it. They'll sell you the part, and rather than paying $700, $800, $900 for a new dishwasher, I can pay $80 for a new pump and repair this thing and get some more life out of it. So I want to experiment a little bit with what they said. As I said, this is the main circulation pump, and the video I was watching confirmed that there's a little plastic cover that goes over this piece that you have to remove in order to get at this little screw in here. But other than that, that was the only thing I was kind of figuring is how are we going to get at that. But once I got this little plastic cap off, access to these 3 screws becomes really easy, and apparently you just remove these, pull the whole thing off, plug the new one in, and we're good to go. So I'm going to pull this off right now, make sure that everything is working exactly as I think. We'll also take a look inside there. Maybe we can determine that the motor is seized up, or maybe there's something in there that's plugged up, and maybe this is still something we can fix. But at this point, it looks like I'm going to have to replace this. So this is the motor here. I actually pulled it off, and actually the motor feels all right. And once I got the thing out of here and put it on the multimeter, I noticed that I had continuity across it. So maybe we still are okay. One of the things I noticed when I opened it up, this is the little housing here, and then this is the drain part. This little thing spins, that makes the water move, that pushes the water through here and up the hose. One of the things I noticed inside of here when I opened it up was that there was a little piece of glass in there. And it's possible if the glass got into the impeller here, it may have blocked it from running. And if that's the case, then putting this thing back together, we may actually dodge a bullet on this. So like I said, I'm glad I opened this thing up. It isn't really hard to do. If I have to replace this, I can. But at this point, I want to see if now that I've gotten the glass out of there, that we can maybe fix this. Now, glass should not have worked its way through there, because there's like a very elaborate filtration system that's designed to keep anything that's too big from getting in here. But apparently a piece did, and I have had glasses that got broken in the dishwasher. In fact, when I was opening this up initially, I found some more glass inside. So, like I said, I'm going to try buttoning this thing back up. Let's see if we can still make this thing work and not have to spend any money, because that's better than spending some money, right? All right, once I got this thing out and I put it on the multimeter again, and now I am getting continuity across this thing. That says to me that maybe I just didn't have a good contact when it was still attached to the dishwasher itself. But once I got it out, and verified I have continuity against it, that means this thing should work. And I started asking myself, is there a way that I could test this thing on the bench before I put it in? Because if I'm going to put it in the dishwasher, I'm going to have to run a cycle and then wait for it to get all the way to the drain cycle before I can find out. And at that point, I might have burned up the rest of the day and not had time to spend more time on this, seeing if I could figure it out. And I looked at the pump, I looked at the label, and I looked it up online and found out that not only do I not need to pay $80 for it by getting the thing from the manufacturer, I could get the same thing on Amazon for about $20. I also found out that the input power on this is 120 volts at 60 cycles, and well, that's what we run for normal AC in the houses in America. So what I did is I rigged up a little connector here, attached it to a plug, just a standard plug I can plug into the wall, and plugged it into an outlet to see if I could make this thing work. Guess what? I can. This thing still works. So it looks like we got a little maybe mismatch or something here. We're going to have to look at that, because it's seizing up every once in a while. But that just might be an adjustment on the impeller. And so I'm going to get in there and let's see if we can maybe get this thing going again. Maybe we don't have to spend any money at all. Okay, I put everything back together and I've moved the dishwasher back into the house. We're going to reinstall it back into its location here, and we're going to run a cycle and see if we've actually fixed the problem. I hope so. It's entirely reasonable that the motor wouldn't spin because there was a piece of glass stuck in it, and we got the glass out of there. We verified that the motor is working, and it's not likely that, you know, maybe like a computer problem is happening on it and it isn't communicating to turn on the motor. The most likely explanation is that the motor was seized up because there was a piece of glass blocking it from moving. So I'm hoping that's going to work. We're going to put this thing back together. We're going to run a cycle and I'll let you know what happens. I'm running a cycle right now, and that's the sound of the pump working. So I think we're in business. We're definitely pumping water out of there. That's a good thing. I think we got this. Alright, so I finished a wash cycle here. We heard the water drain out between the individual cycles, so it seemed pretty certain that it worked. And now we're done. Everything's done, and the water got all pumped out. So this is good. Worst case scenario was I was going to have to replace that pump, and I'm not going to have to do that. This costs nothing now except a little bit of time taking it apart and tracking down the problem. It just turns out we got a piece of glass stuck in that impeller, and that was the problem, clearing that out. I also kind of gave it a nice clean out, washed everything out, because you get a little bit of biomatter in there, and that can kind of gunk things up a little bit too. But this was definitely an improvement. A new dishwasher would have been $800 or $1,000. A new pump would have been between $20 and $80. But like I said, I got this done for just the cost of my own time. So definitely a good investment. This thing should be ready to run now. And I am going to run a real cycle now, and we should be good to go. So I think that's all that I have for today. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night.